Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Fire Force Chapter 290. When we last left our heroes, Shinra and Sho were still unable to touch Haumea, specifically because Haumea reveals that she's, absorbed the souls and powers of the dead pillars. Meaning, she can use an advanced version of Inka's, fate-sensing powers to cancel out flames, I think. I have the definitive sense we should have spent more time with Inka to see that kind of power develop, but whatever, we're gonna get that, and I'm gonna be bitter forever, but whatever. Meanwhile, Haumea continues to sort of egg Shinra on. And Shinra tells himself that he's not fighting for revenge, he's fighting for the sake of humanity, but neither Haumea nor the narrator, whose intentions I'm not quite so trusting of, seem to agree with him. But Shinra just continues to claim that he will not kill Haumea, and so Haumea just blasts a hole in Shinra. And that's where we left off, with Shinra maybe dying, possibly, which is a lot to throw right now. Our cover here is, instead of the typical white border, it's all blacked out. Deep and dark are the depths of despair. Chapter 290, Piercing Hope. I'm not sure if that blurb is meant to be so alliterative in the Japanese, but the English minor in me very much appreciates it. Deep and dark are the depths of despair. Anyway, scan later page, go by the manga page, and we open right where we left off with Shinra taking that blast through the chest. Shinra has been pierced through the chest. With its savior gone, will the world sink into despair? And Shinra falls to his knees and then collapses. Sho calls, "Brother!" And Haumea, with tears in her eyes, says, "This brings a close to the despair that could only end in death." And Sho snaps at her, "It's not over yet. The world that my brother and Company 8 protected isn't going to end." And Haumea pushes back, "The world will go back to the flames now that the savior is gone." "Shut up!" And we see Sho with literal tears in his eyes. And then Shinra reaches up and grabs Sho's arm. And gets back up. "I'm fine, actually." And we see, from the hole, a snake made of flame. Who has snake powers? I mean, Orochi I don't quite remember if Orochi had snake powers or not, but Orochi means snake. So if anyone does, it was her. But she's A, super dead, and B, wouldn't really side with the Fire Force here. She was a white clad, so I have no idea who this is. But Shinra gets right back up with this flame snake. "I'm fine, actually." And Haumea, just sort of, her tears gone, back to that sort of placid stare. "It seems someone from Earth is influencing this place through an Adolla Link." Which, who could do that? Nataku? Nataku doesn't have snake powers, though. But I always get Adolla Link and Adolla Burst confused. Actually, Link might be Joker. I don't think Joker specifically has snake-themed powers, but he's my best guess. Anyway, this snake of flames is, and the snake looks at Shinra, and we see, oh, okay, it's Kayoko Huang. Who I guess that would fit with because she's the doctor, right? And the staff of Asclepius, I think is the pronunciation, is tied with the medical field. And Asclepius was, I think, a son of Hermes or Apollo. I always get Hermes and Apollo confused, my Greek mythology. And I think snakes were a big symbol for him, which would fit, which is very, very, it's kind of a stretch connecting doctor to snake. But also the snakes might have already been a theme with Kayoko. I can check real fast. I'm not going to spend too long on that. Looking at her techniques list. Asclepius staff. Yeah, that would be the snakes. Alright. So yeah, it's Kayoko. Okay. And we see she, half of her body is on fire. Her fingers are like bones. "Shinra, your wound has been healed through the stigma I received from treating you before." Okay. So somehow treating Shinra gave her a stigma, which let her Adolla Link, I guess. I'd have to go back to both the Nether arc and the Stigma arc to sort of see if that's how Stigma work. Because I don't quite recall. But okay, it works. Whatever works. Also, was Kayoko always missing a pointer finger on her right hand? But she's with Company 5 captain, forgetting her name. Fuck, why can't I remember her name? This is really embarrassing. I shouldn't have to look this up. But I'm going to, because I feel very stupid. Hibana! How did I forget Hibana? Anyway, moving on. Kayoko and Hog's daughter, whose name I also forget, but I know she's Hog. The only Hog that matters now. Captain! Oh! And it takes more of her body. It seems those flames weren't safe for someone like me to touch. And she falls to her knees. Hog calls, Captain! And Hibana, you mustn't touch those flames. And she's like holding back Hog. And we see Hibana with like tears in her eyes. Shinra, please come back with Iris. Yes, please come back with Iris. Please, let's not let Iris be dead anymore. Because it's stupid for Iris to be dead. Anyway, Shinra sort of feels them, or hears them, actually, given the next bubble. Captain Huang, Captain Hibana, and Lieutenant Hog. I can hear them. I can tell what's happening on Earth. It was only thanks to them that I got this far. And Shota sort of mutters out, Brother, don't worry. I won't be swallowed up by rage anymore. Is it the sort of thing like he remembers what he's fighting for, and so that lets him, having that reminder of that there are people back home. He can't, when he's in this wasteland, it's easy to forget that there are other people who matter, and that his rage could doom all of them. But that small reminder of the three of them, is like, hey, there are still people alive that you have to protect. You have to save them. And not in the way that Haumea wants you to save them. Anyway, I won't be swallowed up by rage anymore. I'm not a devil. I'm a hero. I fight to protect the lives and assets of the citizens. I've always had a thought about the whole focus on lives and property. It's just a really weird thing for a shonen hero to say. I have in no way a cogent thought on the show that ties in with the focus on property or assets in this translation. But it's always been an interesting thing to note here at the end. And this does really feel like an end, tying into that early line from the first couple episodes that Obi sort of brought home. This does sort of feel like the manga really coming full circle right there. It's the sort of thing that heralds in the final battle. And I'm not entirely sure if defeating Haumea also counts as defeating the Evangelist, but if it does, this is, in a way, the final, or not in a way, it is the final battle. Shinra and Sho versus Haumea and the Evangelist. But again, it might be wrong on the exact reading of that. Either way, it very much feels like a finale. And so Shinra stares Haumea down, ready for this final battle to begin. Haumea just stares, not really showing any emotion at all. And then I'm not quite sure what happens here, because he seems to warp right up to Haumea. He doesn't really seem there's no sense of him running. He's still in the same sort of ramrod straight pose when he gets next to her. So either he warped there or she warped him there. Either way, he's now right up to Haumea, and he goes to deliver a punch, and Haumea it looks like he swings and Haumea just lightly turns away. It's a really weird panel there. And she turns back. Your efforts are futile. Fate itself has concluded that you cannot touch me. It's set in stone, much like the despair of this world. And Shinra counters, oh, I don't think so. I just moved your hair, so I clearly can influence you in some way. And we see going back, actually, it does look like her hair might have moved, very slightly, but yeah, I guess so. Maybe the reason that punch looks so light is because he's taken all that hatred out. The hatred gave it the force. And it's only when he removes himself of that hatred, his attacks are so much slower, but he actually can hit her. Maybe I might be reading too much into this, possibly. But anyway, Sho notes that if he couldn't interact with her at all, her hair wouldn't have moved. The future isn't decided yet. And Shinra tells Haumea, The conclusion of the subconscious doesn't have to be death. And Haumea retorts, and what do you aim of achieving when you can barely move a bit of hair? But Sho thinks, no. Just like how the flap of a butterfly's wings can cause great storms. Even a gentle breeze can bring great change. And Shinra picks up on that. That's why the evangelist fears the change I can bring. And Shinra goes to throw another punch, but he's blasted back by Sumire's powers. And Haumea tells him the evangelist doesn't fear. It accepts everything. So there's an interesting thing. Because throughout the series, the evangelist has been described with she, her pronouns, right? She's been described as a woman. I've described her as a woman. The narrative uses she and her to describe her. All of a sudden, Haumea describes her with it, which feels more like the evangelist as a force of nature. As we talked about in 87 or 88, 287, 288, the evangelist as the personification of the despair, which I still feel like there's some missing questions as to what the evangelist is. You know, specifically, if she is this persona or this accumulation of despair, what did Tenpei see? Way back in the flashback in the China arc, right? Tenpei, before he becomes an infernal, sees the evangelist passing through the space-time rift. What was that? And I feel like we have to learn that before everything is over. But anyway, it accepts everything. Haumea tells Shinra, that's not true. It is. Take a look at Earth. The last flame of despair is about to be lit. And Shinra asks, what? What are you talking about? And we come back to Earth. We see Hinoa and Maki, I guess, herding some refugees. Everyone, please remain calm and walk in a line. And Maki goes to Obi. Captain, we're nearly done with the evacuation in this area. I see. Great work. And he looks up towards the sky. And now we just have to trust in Shinra and wait. An older woman, we see Obi helping this old lady. My vision's blurry, you see. Do you need help? The shelter's right this way. Even though my vision is poorly, I can tell you're brimming with light. And Obi tells her is to help everyone not lose sight of hope. And I'm not quite sure how this is supposed to be the last flame of despair. But we cut to Vulcan and Victor. And Vulcan says, look, it seems the fires in this area are subsidized. And then Victor responds, then next you should check the status of the living facilities in the shelter. Roger. If we manage to get everyone that was left in the shelters, then... And then someone approaches Victor, and he looks back. Did something happen? I know it's Obi. Okay. No, I just came to check out this place. I see. Well, there's no problem here. Oh, I figured it out. Because I said earlier, back in the Joker Burns thing, right? Back in the Joker and Burns scene, I was a little bit confused with the math. It felt like there was a doppelganger missing. And I think we just found that doppelganger. Because Vulcan says, lit. The shelter is running water again. And the generator and he notices Victor sort of staring off at Obi. Is something up? Well, the captain was just here. But why? He should be guiding the evacuation. Yeah, it's Obi's doppelganger. We come back to Maki and the real Obi. Captain, I finished the evacuation on my side. Good work. Now there's only one job left. And then we see... Hold on, I'm trying to work out the exact logistics of this scene. Because we focus with Maki and Obi, and then we cut to Tamaki, who says, huh? At the two Obis. I'm just a little confused why she only noticed when the doppelganger is that far ahead. It feels like she should have seen that already. I don't know. I'm probably focusing on nothing right there. The point being that Obi, the literal symbol of hope for a lot of people, the one who dragged the other companies out of their despair, is about to unleash hell, at least as far as the common people can tell. Because that's Obi's doppelganger, and there's no way he's about to do anything good. Though also, why? Because there's this recurring problem with doppelgangers, is that sometimes they're just evil, and sometimes they're, the common perception of a person. And it's kind of, sometimes it doesn't quite feel like they're successfully balancing the two all the time. And I'm really curious how they're going to make the Obi doppelganger work here. Because, Obi's doppelganger should be just as much a source of light as the real Obi is. That's how people see him. Either way, the doppelganger draws his blade and slits Obi's throat. Okay. That's not what I was expecting there. And we see Obi start to blood bubble up in his mouth, and he falls. Shinra hears it from Adolla. Tamaki scream, "Kya!" And Obi falls, on his back. Haumea threw her tears, and so the light is lost. And Sho calls, "Don't, brother!" But Shinra's lost to his madness now. "I'm gonna fucking kill you." To be continued after 291 in the Second Sun. Okay. So, that was not where I saw that going. I don't know what I thought was going to happen, but I certainly did not. So I think I thought that, what I thought was going to happen was that, Obi it'd be like sort of a, everyone sees who they thought was the symbol of hope being evil, and that questions their faith, and which then leads to despair. But no, it's much simpler. Obi just slits his real form's throat. And I'm still kind of curious as to why the perception of Obi would lead to that. Unless it's somehow tied up with Haumea's concept of fate. I'm not sure how it would be, but that's the most sensible reason for that I can think of. Anyway, Obi deserved better. He deserves better than just, I feel like the last 3 or 4 chapters has just been really, really blasé with character deaths. Blasé is maybe not quite the right word. Like Inka and Sumire is definitely kind of blasé, but Iris's death is the big character motivation for Shinra right now, as is now Obi's. It's just being really piling on the death in these last 4 chapters. We had Arthur's death, and that was kind of the only main character death since Hog died. If you can even really count Hog as a main character. I could be forgetting something. But then we lose Inka and Sumire, and then Iris and Amaterasu, and now Obi. It's just a lot of death, in very short order. I don't know. I need to think this through, I think, before. Emotionally it works. Killing Obi as just the final straw. The reminder of the people on Earth allowed Shinra to sort of hold back his rage. But Haumea resulting in Obi's death was just the last fucking straw. Nothing can bring... something will, I hope, bring Shinra back somehow. But right now, he is full on rage. I love this last page. It's kind of scary. The Shinra grin, and then the heavy lines, the, dead eyes. He looks like a devil. That's very deliberate, but he looks like a devil. That's not the face of the savior right there. The thing that just, again, I'm trying to work out how Obi's how does the perception of Obi lead to the belief that the doppelganger, I don't see how, given the rules of doppelgangers, why the doppel Obi would kill the real Obi. This doesn't quite seem right to me. I guess, I don't know. I'm not sure how Haumea will explain in the next chapter, given that Shinra is not exactly in the status of listening to reason right now. but I do hope we get some kind of explanation at some point about this, because I feel like there's just a touch missing to make it make sense. It's emotionally a very effective scene. No doubting that. Just the shock of the Obi doppelganger just slitting Obi's throat. It's a lot. It is definitely a lot. Yeah. I don't know. But, yeah. God, where to go next? Shinra's a rage monster. All that peace he found is gone because Obi is dead. And Shinra can tell. I'm slightly confused. Like, it's not the same way with Kayoko where he could tell because Kayoko was linking with him. I'm gonna guess he can tell because the evangelist set this link up specifically to create this reaction. So again, it works. It's, not quite as clear. I don't know. What matters now, Obi is dead, and Shinra is filled with rage, and I don't know how he walks back that rage. I don't know what can possibly calm him down at this point with Obi dead. I don't fucking know. I just do not fucking know. So I'm just going to leave this video off here. Hope you all enjoyed the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, or, do whatever makes you happy, And as always, your life is your own, okay? Bye!